Hi YouTube, this is Jesus S. Elmore speaking. Jesus is love. Sorry, I realized I haven't blogged in a while, but I'm going to try to get back on track. It's been pretty busy for me lately, but I'm going to start again. So I'm going to answer the question of how can God exist with so much evil in the world? Okay, so first I just want to start with Ravi Zacharias' arguments, just because it's very simple, straightforward, plain. First argument is going to be his argument, so I'm going to give him reference for this. So I'll start with what he says. So someone asks him the question, how can God exist with so much evil in the world? And he starts off with this. Okay, so you're saying there's evil in the world, correct? Well, if you say there's evil, there also has to be good. And if you're saying there's evil with good, then you must say there's a moral law from which to differentiate between good and evil, correct? And for there to be a moral law, there needs to be a moral lawgiver, someone of a higher being, a higher intellect that thinks of the moral law for which there should be good and evil. So if you're saying there's no God, no moral law, then no moral lawgiver, then you're saying there is no moral law. And if you're saying there is no moral law, then there is no good or evil. So in itself, the question destructs, and it dismisses the entire argument. So you can't say God doesn't exist, because then in turn you're saying there is no good or evil. Okay, so that's my first argument, laying the ground. Second, I'll tell you how this happened from the beginning. It happened in the beginning because we have fallen short of the glory of God. How did this happen? Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve both ate from the forbidden tree, the forbidden fruit, right? Because the devil tempted them, say, you'll be bigger and better than God. And even though God told them not to, they still ate from it because the devil tempts. And since that day, we have become spiritually dead from God, because we were cast out of his paradise and out of his immediate grace, out of his immediate ambience. We were there. Adam and Eve were living with God very, very intimately. And now we've become spiritually dead, and we are on earth right now. And earth is where the devil roams as well. That's why there's pain, suffering, and most importantly, temptation. Now, temptation, a lot of people think, okay, but, temptation's ugly, right? Actually, temptation is very, very attractive. Don't you think a temptation, if it wasn't for temptation being very attractive, we wouldn't sin so much. So that is his actually best plan right now, temptation, because we see it and we're enticed by it because it's so attractive. So we have fallen short of the glory of God, become spiritually dead, and we are on earth where the devil roams, and he is everything that's evil. Once again, going back to Ravi Zacharias, good and evil. God's good, the devil is evil. Next, we open doors. We open doors in every way throughout our days. For example, before I was saved, I used to love reading Harry Potter books. I used to like watching the show Charmed. I don't know if any of you heard about that show starring Alyssa Milano. Yeah. And through that, I thought it was really exciting and stuff, but then since I was saved, I realized this isn't right. It's witchcraft. And even though in Charmed they're good witches, there's the spells that they're still doing, the things that they chant, it's not right. I mean, these things open doors for the devil to come in and pretty much wreak havoc. That's why, even though there's good people in the world, stuff still happens to them, because we're not perfect. Obviously, we sin in different ways, and sometimes we don't know when we sin. For example, we open our mind to these kinds of things, like the witchcraft movies, and even Harry Potter might seem, oh, that's harmless, but again, because it's witchcraft, because they're saying things with spells, this opens your mind and this opens doors for the devil to come in. Another thing is, personally, as a Christian, as my own decision, I decide not to do yoga just because it's very fundamentally rooted in Hindu worshipping and worship practices for their gods. So there's different positions that you go into because it's yoga, where it's actually very, very strongly rooted in worshipping the Hindu gods. So that's another personal choice I decide not to. But again, we tend to always look at the negative things in life. I mean, I'm sure like a lot of people have been through some bad, rough times, but there's also been good times, you know. We also have to thank God for the things that He has given us, because we always tend to look over those things and always focus on the negative things in life too. So that's another thing. And my last argument actually is that I know there's suffering, definitely there is suffering in the world, but through this suffering we can show compassion. And through the compassion that we can show the love of Jesus through this. We see someone who wants, hey, you know, it would be really great if you can help me with charity or something. And I mean, whatever you can give, I mean, it's helping out mankind. Help any way you can to help out your fellow man. I mean, Jesus said, you know, love thy neighbor. Love God with thy heart, mind, and soul. You know, treat others as you would like to be treated. And even that saying is in every single religion. I can guarantee you that in almost every single religion it says along the lines of treat others as you would like to be treated. And through that you can spread the word of God, through showing compassion, through helping people who are in need. Think of the Good Samaritan. Samaritan was the only guy that came along the road to help that guy that was lying beaten up on the road. He, complete stranger, took him in, fed him, everything. I mean, we must do our good works